Hey people, and today we're going to be building a 40 centimeter tall Voldemort bust. So let's not waste any time, let's do this. Right, so I've got my sculpting stand set up here, and all I'm going to do now is I'm just going to cover this whole area with tin foil and gaffer tape. Right, so I'm just going to cover this pole here with some tin foil, like so, very roughly, just so that the expanding foam doesn't stick to the pole and will come straight off. Also cover this. Ooh, perfect. And now, the gaffer tape. Right, so that's all covered now with gaffer tape. It seems like overkill, but if you don't do this, it's very, very hard to get the foam off the metal pole and the wooden base. So now I'm just going in, and I'm going to put some expanding foam filler to make the rough shape. Here we go. Now, no, it doesn't look like much, but when that expands and dries, I'll cut it back to shape. Right, so that's all dry, nice and dry. It's all expanded nice, ready to carve. Now what we need is we need a shape of side profile of Voldemort and front profile. So I'll just quickly quick drawing of, there we go. There he is, and just cut that out. And then we've got our rough sizes to know what to carve on the foam. Right, so that's all cut out. Now we can see our front profile and the side profile, and all we do is just make sure that foam fits in with this shape. Other side, you can use the other side, and for the back you can use that. Okay, so let's just take that now. That's our line where the pole enters there, goes up, so that's, make sure we're not hitting that. And we'll just first of all get this shape here, so we know where we're at, there and there. And then let's get the edge of the head. We don't count the ears, because the ears will go on separately. Obviously this is very, very rough. Yeah, that's good. Okay, now let's go from the side. There's the pole there. So that's the back cut off there. So that is the front cut off of the chest. Yeah, there. And then we've got the front of the face there, minus the nose, of course, and the back of the head. Okay, so we'll start carving that and see where we end up. Okay, so we're getting somewhere now. Hope you can see that. My angles might not be perfect, but you get the idea. You just do a rough cut, so you've got that shape of the head, like so. To come round like that. Now remember, less is better, because what we're going to do, we're going to carve it back and then build it back up to perfection. So you want it to be less, and then we go over with some matting. So the matting itself will take up some space. Then the fine detail with the two-part epoxy, that will take up some space. So you want the finished result to be the size. This, you want it to be finished size minus the epoxy and fiberglass matting and the clay that we're going to build up the detail with. So, oh sorry, wrong one. There we go. Just bring that shoulder up a bit. Yep. Yeah, that's starting to look like something. Just imagine a ear, like so. Got one of these bamboo skewers. Break it off. Hook it in. A bit lower. There we go. That's good. Right, so we're starting to get more of the shape that we like. And I've just basically just poked my fingers right in there to make like a, almost, it has to look like a skeleton, like a skull. So we're working from the bones outwards. And I've just got some little eyeballs that I casted. And if you want to see how I make all these, there's a video that I go through the whole process of making these on my Groot video. So take a look and you'll be able to see how I make these, the finished paint job and everything. So I'll just pack that a bit there. So let's take a look what that looks like, just roughly. I just want to see what it looks like. Where's he looking? That's it. Yeah, like so. And now, see that? It's starting to look like something. That's his flat nose there, and his mouth protruding there. And of course the lips, that we'll deal with after. But it's starting to look like Voldemort. Or am I not supposed to mention his name? There we go, that's better. And I know the neck seems a bit thin, but as I said, don't worry, because I've got to make it smaller than what we think the finish will be. It's a side view there, hope you can see that. Starting to have a look about him. Back view, just want to get it symmetrical-ish. So when you go in with the clay, you're not hitting any of this foam too much on one side. So he's got like a, quite a, yes, like a, it's a bit flatter like that, like so. Okay, so that, oh yes, that's looking better. Sorry guys, an afterthought. I've just realised I would fancy him looking a bit to the left, like the picture there. I've made him straight on, but I think now this is where that gaffer tape and that aluminium tape comes in very, very handy, because now nothing will stick to it and I'll be able to just do this. There we go. And just twist it into place where I like it. Yeah, that's an owl. No, just enough to sort of like give it some action. So his body's coming up there and he's looking away like that. Bang. So it gives it a bit of movement. Oh yeah, that looks much more powerful. So it's not following one line. So when you take a look at the sculpture, it looks like it's moving. Okay, so that's good. I'll just put some silver aluminium tape just on that little neck there. It kind of looks a bit like Frankenstein at the minute, but you get what I mean. There we go. Just to hold that in place. Very, very roughly. There we go. I've given him a necklace. I pity the fool. Okay. That looks good. Sorry guys. Again, just realised before I put the clay on, I've gone too far with the shoulders here. The neck's fine being thin because I can build that up, but this area here, I just need a slither of sponge, or a slithering, excuse the pun, just to build up that area so it looks like clothing. I hope you can see that. Ooh. Oh, that looks pretty cool. That looks really cool. I like that. I like it a lot. A snake wrapping round him, coming round. It'll complicate things here, but that needs to happen. That definitely needs to happen. Hey guys, you won't believe this, but this profile I cut out of this cardboard with the Amazon logo on, it's been staring me in the face the whole time. It's the snake on his shoulder. How cool is that? Is that a weird coincidence? I don't think so, because the boa constrictor is actually from the Amazon rainforest. Right, so I'm just going to cover it with this aluminium tape. The whole sculpture, all the way around. Cover every bit of foam that you can see. Okay, we're just finishing up here. There, that looks cool. Why am I covering it in this aluminium tape? Because it makes it shiny. And also, when the tape's on there, with the foam underneath, you can sort of hand sculpt it and get it into, not drastic changes, but if you don't like something, you can just make it, you can push it in and make a change to the shape, like with the chin there. Just follow that line and just make little subtle changes. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take this NSP sulfur-free plastiline. It's just like a oil-based clay, and then put the skin over the whole thing like so, and this will not dry out like water-based clay, so you can take your time, put it on and carve it back to whatever shape you want. And remember that this is going to be a one-off. We're going to sculpt it with that epoxy sculpt, so we want the finished sculpt of this clay to be smaller than the actual finished bust, just like that. See, just cover it all over with a thin layer just to get that shape in clay and cover all that tape. Right, so we're just finishing up here. Hope you can see that. All covered. Starting to look like something a bit like Deadpool. It's nice and solid. Now we can go in with some nice detail. I've just left the eyes in there so we can see how deep we need to go in with that first layer of matting. Okay, so we're getting somewhere now. I don't normally do this. I usually sculpt the whole thing at once. But what I wanted to do is I wanted to show you the before and the after. So that's the one side done, sort of with the shapes roughly roughed out. The side view, back of the head there. This here, this piece here was the top of the head. It was just a bit too high. So the great thing about the foam and the aluminium foil is that you can just cut it off and then go back in and cover it. And also that can be used for something if I need to pad his shoulders or something. Okay, so the sculpture is done. Well, it's done enough for me to now just put some release agent on there and go over it with some matting. Just one layer, cut it off, take it off like a shell, and then we can get rid of this. And then we're left with a shell, and then I'll go over the shell with 2-part epoxy to make up all the details, and then it'll be the right finished dimension. So now all I've got to do is just cut off these ears because they'll be an afterthought. I'm going to sculpt them separately because the matting won't take all that detail. So, oh, feels like a Quentin Tarantino movie. Okay. Yeah, just get that nice and smooth and then put the matting on. Time lapse. Right, so that's all dry. Perfect. I've just sanded him down a bit and put a Sharpie line down the middle there, the other side on the halfway mark. And now all I need to do is cut him out. There we go. Now just crack this coconut open. Okay. It will fight you a bit, but it will come off eventually, don't worry. Because we've got that layer of clay there, which gives it that little bit of play. There we go. There we go. Cool. Right, I've emptied them out the best I can. Now all I'm going to do is I'll just laminate them back together like so. Fiberglass that all the way down and screw this down to the base here so it doesn't move around on me when I'm putting the 2-part epoxy on for the detail. Right, that's dry now. All laminated together. I hope you can see that all the way around, and I've just screwed it with 6 screws all the way around so it's sturdy so I can build up the 2-part epoxy. Now while that's just drying up completely, I've got here some ears. I've sculpted one perfectly, get all the shapes to perfection, and then glue gun just to smooth it out with an earbud like that, just smooth it out. And I'm just making one first and then I'm duplicating it next to it like that, and that way it'll be identical. And then we're just going to put a little bit of this plasticine around it and make a very dirty quick mold from silicone, and then we can cast them out of resin and pop them on the sculpt. Okay, so there's our silicone molds. It's destroyed the ears unfortunately, but that's fine. Now all we do is just put a bit of talc on them just to clean them out. Now we just mix up some resin Decal, and catalyst. So catalyst goes in just roughly. And then just pour a little bit in, like so. Just a little bit in there. Don't fill it up completely. What you want to do is you want to just do this. Get all those air bubbles out. Oh, that's gone everywhere. There we go. And then just backfill it all the way and a little bit over, because we've got that little lip there. And then we can sand this down afterwards and just get it to the angle we need. There we go. Perfect. Right, that's dry. It's a bit tacky, but it's dry enough to get out the mold. Just get them out there. Ooh, lovely. Nice. That's come out lovely. Look at that. Perfect. They just pop on there like that. Look at that. Brilliant. Just gotta sand all that off flat. Perfect. Right, so that's all ready. Now we're just going in with this epoxy sculpt, 2-part epoxy sculpt. So just equal amounts. I like to make little balls up, and then I can see that it's the same amount. There, that looks about right. And then just blend that together until it's all one uniform color. Okay, so that's all one color. And now we're just essentially sculpting it on. Now you've got about 1 or 2 hours of working time with this, so you've got plenty of time. All I'm going to do is I'm just going to go in and try and get those details back on the face. I'm going to go over this whole thing with one layer, and then when you want to smooth it out, you just have a bit of water like that. You can smooth it out completely smooth, and when it's completely dry, 24 hours later, you can go in and sand it, build up more layers as you please. Okay, so I've just done one side here so you can see what I'm doing. We're just getting some detail back there, and I'll put a layer over the whole face, and I'll do the eyes as well, I think, just for fun. And I'll leave this part out because I'm going to build that up with some more matting, just so I don't waste all this 2-part epoxy. Oh, it's still soft, as you can see. If you want to create like wrinkles, those wrinkles there, all you do is just go in, see where will they live roughly. I'm just making this up right now. It's just for you to see. This won't be the way it'll be. Like so. You just blend that away. You've got some nice little wrinkles going on there. Obviously, you can sand this afterwards. You can go back in and sand it. What you want to make sure is if you stop sculpting for the day or for a few hours, you want to make sure these edges here stay really smooth and don't like finish at a sharp angle like that. Don't finish like that, because then you have to build that up and it's hard to match it. So just blend it away to nothing, fade it away, ramp it away. There we go. Right, so we've got a layer of skin on him with this 2-part epoxy sculpt. It's looking pretty cool. I've done the whole face, a bit of the clothes here and some of the collar, and I've left this exposed with matting because what I want to do when I put the snake on, I want to laminate to the matting. It's easier to laminate to this stuff. Doesn't really want to stick as well to the epoxy sculpt. I've just done the eyes there. I've just covered them with some silly putty just to protect him, and yeah, he's looking pretty cool. So he looks a bit hungry, so let's make him a snack. I mean, let's make him a snake. Okay, so all I did was I just made a quick clay sculpt, roughly, of a snake with his mouth open like that. Very rough, it's still wet. And I just covered it with Vaseline and then fiberglassed it with some resin and some matting. It's just a shell. And when that dries, I'll start putting some detail on it for the snake head. Right, now, what I'm doing here is I'm just mixed up that 2-part epoxy, and I'm just giving him a little skin all over and just around that nose there, and down like that. Side view, yeah, that goes up a bit there. And then to smooth it off, I'm just keeping away from the eyes because I'm going to put the eyes in separately after. I've just marked out with a marker pen where everything goes roughly, and with some water there, I can just smooth that out roughly, and I'll do that all over and give it snake-like texture all over. That's going to look great. Yeah. I'll just go get a tool to make some snake skin. Okay, just go down the middle there, like so. It's perfect. And then just give him some scales coming off of this. Like so. Duplicate that. Shaking. My hands are shaking. But you get the idea. That's it. And last one there. And just keep going till we have all that texture in there. Like so. Oh yeah. Okay, so I thought I'd show you the progress on the snake head there. It's coming along nicely. Got some texture there going. And the inside of the mouth's all done, except for some detail. Just got to put the lips on there. Some more scales in the cheek. but it is starting to look like something. It's pretty cool. And within the next day or two, that should be ready. Right, okay, so the snake's finished. The reason it's a bit more glossy because I've just put some resin on top of that just to make it more smooth than the face itself. How I've done this is I've just cut that off there because it was a bit too big, and I'll just fiberglass the bottom there. The way I've attached this is I've just put 2 screws there, just going into the neck, and then I've backfilled it with some epoxy clay, and that way it looks like it's resting on it. I hope you can see that. That just needs to dry, and I'll finish all this up, give it a good sand down, and then it'll be ready for paint. It's looking good. All the shapes are there. His flat nose. Why has Voldemort got a flat nose? Because he ran into the wrong wall at the train station. Right, so they're ready to paint. Now, all I've done here is I've just taken this Tupperware bucket, cut off like that. Can you see? Put a metal tube in it like this. Backfilled that with resin to create this base here. And then I just backfilled the actual sculpt itself, and then painted the whole thing with some primer white filler just to get it all one uniform color. So when you paint it, it's easier to control the colors on a nice blank canvas. Now, what I'm going to do first, now that this is all dry, I'm just going to go in with some pencils, some blue. This is Spectrum Blue, just a watercolor pencil, and I just want to create those veins on his temples leading into the back of his skull here and coming forward into his face, sort of representing veins, venomous veins trying to take over his brain. And it's basically just a simple case of drawing them in. My shaky hands here come in very handy, like so. And don't worry if you go overboard, because we're going to be painting over this with a translucent paint, so it'll look like it's under his skin. And I'm going to use different blues here just to create different color veins. There we go. And I'll do that all over, and I'll get back to you. Right, so I've got all the blue in there, and now what I'm doing is I'm just going in with this watercolor pale vermilion, sort of like a reddy pinky color, and I'm just going in very faintly, sometimes over the blue and sometimes completely avoiding it, so it's a separate thing, like crisscrossing, going over different directions. And just keep going with this. You can't go too far because you can always sort of rub it off with your fingers. And what it does, it just creates a feel of veins and blood running under the surface of the skin, just like that. Don't do straight lines. Unfortunately for me, I can't do straight lines. So in this case, it's good. There we go. Perfect. Right, so all those little veins have dried nicely, and I've just sealed it with some see-through matte sealer, so they're sealed under there, so when I go over it now, I'm not going to smudge them. Now, what I'm doing here now is I've just mixed a bit of white acrylic and red just to create this pinky color, and I've watered it down a lot, so it's very watery. It's kind of like ink consistency, and what I'm going for is I'm going to go in and I'm going to create subsurface scattering. So what does that mean? Well, it means where the light shines through, like an earlobe or somewhere where the skin is quite thin, you can sort of see through it with the light shining through. In fact, I'll show you. Okay, so I've got my head torch here, and hope you can see this. I'm just going to turn the head torch on, turn the lights off, and if you just look at my hand, I hope you can see that. Can you see that, the way it's shining through, where you can see the veins? It's a subsurface scattering. So that's what I'm going to create on the ear. I hope you can see that there. Wow, that looks cool. Okay, so let's go in there and create this effect very lightly, just on the areas that you might think that light would shine through, just like that. Doesn't look like much now, but you'll see what I mean when it's done. Don't overdo it, so don't paint it. You want it to be like transparent, like a candy apple. So just imagine that the light is shining through, and that makes it look like you can see the blood vessels underneath. Oh yeah, cool. I'll just do that everywhere I think it needs doing, and then we'll go in with the next layer. Right, so that's on now. Now all I'm doing is I'm just going in with the same technique, but with a little bit of yellow. If you can see, I hope you can see on the camera. Just going in with a bit of yellow, just on those highlights there, and then rubbing it straight back off, just to give it a multi-tone, not just one color, like so. Just wiping it off straight away, just in certain places where you think it might happen. Again, you want that to stay as transparent as possible so those veins show through just around the eyes. I hope my angles are right here. just in all those joints. Just get a bit of yellow in there and just change up the colour a bit. Oh, it's very subtle, but it's there. There we go. That's good. I like that. I like that. Yeah, it's looking good. Yes. Excellent. Right, so I've got all that effect in there now, like so. Now, what I'm doing is I'm just got some ridiculously watered down black. I mean, we're talking about a pinch of black and loads of water, so it's really, really, really runny. And what we're doing is we're just dabbing it on. Just dabbing it on. Now, you might say, oh dear, what are you doing? But don't worry, because we'll just dab it on like this. Yeah, all the way round. And if you get areas where there's too much on, you can just get a sprayer and just spray it down a bit, just to get rid of a bit. Just getting all those areas. So now all the veins are still showing, those different tones of pink and yellow, and also you've got that grey see-through-y look that Voldemort has. It's a very strange complexion. He's like a sort of see-through grey, pinky, yellowy, browny. I'll just carry on with that. Can you see what I mean? Yeah, cool. Right, so I've got his head roughly done. All the veins showing through this darker layer. I've added some just to the face here because it just looks pretty good. Just all coming in towards the eyes. And now I'm just going to go in and I'm going to paint with this original pinky colour the inside of the mouth. So I hope you can see that. I'm just going in there and just painting it pink. This will take me forever because it's quite awkward to get around all those areas, which I thought it would happen because it's so close to the ear here. But if I just go in and just get one nice healthy colour on it, then I can go in with some white and some darker red and just create more different shading tones and highlights. I'm painting over the teeth because I'm going to paint them separately after, like a yellowy, whitey, like a bone, amber and brown, all sorts of colours, because it's like bone colour is not just one colour, it's got loads of different shades. Right, okay, so the inside of the mouth is all done. It's dry. So now I'm just going to do the snake skin. Now the first layer I'm going to put on, I've just mixed some yellow, brown and white and made like a sort of a, I don't know, mustardy colour. Let's just take a look what it looks like. Yes. I'll just do up and down to make sure. I'm just going over this whole thing with this first layer because it's the lightest colour on the snake. Just paint all that, all one colour. Get into all those grooves there because you want them to stand out. That's the first colour, the first pass over the whole snake. There we go. And just let that dry. Okay, so that's all dry now. Now we just go in for some little patterns. Go, just roughly, put those shapes in where they need to go. On the second pass, this will go on thicker. It's just I want to make sure any mistakes I make, I can just wipe it off like that. Okay, I'll just put all these patterns in, just random patterns, whatever you feel is the right shape, and then we'll go in with the next pass. Just coming up to the end of the shapes here. If you was to ask me, do you want to make another snake? I would say not for quite some time, because it's not been easy. Normally, the fun part is painting it, and with my shaky hands, this is not easy. But it's looking good, and the outline of this is the main thing. Everything else goes on the inside. Okay, let's take a look. Yeah, that's looking good. I just got to do the bottom side and then go in with a different colour. Right, so that's all dry. Now I'm just going in with some brown. Just brown, going in, but leaving the edges black. Just fading that to nothing from the middle to the edge there. Hope you can see that. I'll do that over the whole thing. Just fade it away towards the edges there, like so. Okay, so I'm coming up to the last one now. Just colour it in the middle and fade it away to nothing towards the edge, so the black is still showing, like so. Oh yeah, there we go. That looks better. Right, so that's all dry now. What you do is I'm going in with like a dry pass. So load the brush with white and then wipe off as much as you can. So you've got just a little bit on the brush. What you want to do is just want to go in and just hit the top of it like that. Now you'll understand why I used such a dark base in the beginning, because this lightens it all up, brings it back to the colour that we need, and all those scales just come to life. Don't overdo it, just kiss the top of it like that. Okay, so the snake is done and it's looking cool. That whitewash, what it does is it just blends in the background with the foreground, and then I've just added a little bit of white on the belly there. Hope you can see that. Yeah, and it all becomes like one thing. Now all that's left to do is I've got to paint his cloak black. Nothing fancy here. It's just a case of painting it all black, and this is very, very exciting footage. So I'm going to paint it all and I'll get back to you when I'm done. That looks pretty cool. I've painted all of his cloak and the base and the pole there that's holding it all, and the back of the snake neck there. That was a bit of a nightmare in between the collar and that and the neck, but it's done. So now just let that dry, set it, and sort the eyes. But before we do that, I just want to put some gold rub and silver rub onto the base here and a little bit on the cloak just to accentuate the movement in it, and then we can call it done. Okay, so it's all dry. Now I'm going to go in with some Sylvia and some Goldilocks. First of all, I'm going to put some silver, just rub it on to the edges here of his cloak so it gives it a nice finish to the sculpt. That's all on there nicely. It just brings forward all those nice wrinkles, just brings them to life, and all the way around like it's representing the end of the sculpt. And now for some Goldilocks. This is going on the base here. I'm just going to kiss the edge here, just the edge there, all the way around. You can overdo this, so don't overdo it. Just kiss it. It's not what you do, it's how you do it. And in this case, less is more. Or it's not what you say, it's how you say it. It's what I keep getting told at home. You can say the same thing and mean two different things. For example, we've found gold on your land. Nothing but good luck to you. Now say the same words in a different way. We've found gold on your land. Nothing but good luck to you. So there he is. He's looking cool. Now let's take a look at them eyes. Get this silly putty off. Oh yes. Now if you want to see how I make these eyes, I do have a video, which is my group video. It's one of my first few videos I made, which explains all of this. So I recommend you go check it out. There we go. Oh yeah. And of course, old snake eyes. Cool. Little tiny touch up there where the silly putty has masked off the paint. That's looking cool. So I'll just touch that up with some paint and then some 2-part epoxy on these eyes. Okay, so that's all done. Now for some 2-part epoxy. This sets in about 5 minutes, equal amounts. Mix it well, otherwise it sort of stays tacky. You want to make sure you mix it well. Brand new brush. There we go. That looks really cool. A little bit on these. Hope my angles are okay. And then I'm also going to go in and just touch these teeth as well, so they look really shiny. Yep, we can call that done. Okay, now let's weigh him. Okay, so we've got our fish scales here. That's coming in at 1.243. Okay. There we go. Let's take a look. Hope you can see that. I don't think you can. So, oh good. That's 12.5. Okay, so we don't even need a calculator. That's 12.5. So it's virtually 10 times. Well guys, I hope you've enjoyed the video. I certainly have enjoyed building this sculpture. It's been hard work, but very, very satisfying. And like and subscribe if you liked it. And if you didn't, then don't. I just hope you've learned something. I'll see you next time, guys.